Good afternoon, this is Lucky Lynx, and I'm going to do another tarot video for you guys. Though it's not going to be so much of a here, throw these couple cards one. I'm actually going to discuss very quickly, or as quickly as I can, a concept that someone actually messaged me about yesterday, and I think is a very important concept, which actually brings a few things into play. I am using this particular tarot deck to illustrate it because this is the Dishonored tarot deck. I found this in a bookstore, bought it because I liked it. It has no meanings with it, and the cards do not correspond to traditional tarot. It actually, so for example, we've got the Boatman here. That's a 4. I guess we could say then that would be the Emperor, right? But, and here's the Man on Stilts, which would have to correspond to 3, which would be the Empress. Doesn't necessarily look like the Empress, though, or give you the feel. Then here's Cruelty. So you see this one had its own set of images that didn't really correspond. Also, it didn't know there was a swords, guns, skulls, and cups, right? And rats. So that doesn't necessarily correspond to the 4 suits either. The point I'm trying to make here is that someone wrote me yesterday and asked me, what do you do in a situation where you find yourself second guessing? Did I shuffle enough? Have I got the right cards up? How do I know that I've shuffled enough? How do I know that I've got to the right point? Well, you don't. You really can't say. And I'm going to say that I did some experiments on this when I early started. When I first started, I couldn't in my mind see how you could shuffle and all the cards would come up in the right order that they needed to be in. So I used to take one from here, one from there, one from there, one from there, and trust that I get the right cards. Because somewhere in my mind, I don't know why, but I thought they couldn't shuffle in the order that you needed them to be in. And then I also discovered that as I was doing major readings and major events where I was reading like 50 people in a night, I didn't have time to sit here and go, well, I'll take one from there and one from there. It was like people were coming and I had to go through them because I had a certain amount of time and I had to get through all those people, and they'd be sitting down a couple minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. And some cases I just had to shuffle and start throwing them. And I discovered that when I did that, it didn't really matter. If I was open to helping the individual, and if I was open to helping the person, approached it with a sense of curiosity and wonder, and I got out of the way, I'd get whatever I needed. Now, it brings a couple of topics into play here that I'm going to address really quickly. That means that when you're doing a reading, you can't be in the way at all. So the biggest trick when you're doing a reading is to start like this. Take a nice deep breath in. Release and relax. Connect to the person that's sitting across from you. Connect to that person. Connect to their energy. And make sure that you're in a position that you want to help them. You're in a mindset that you want to help them. They're coming to you to help solve a problem, or to see something, or to find some kind of outcome that they're looking for. Regardless of whatever reason they tell you they sit down there, they say, oh, I don't know, they want something. There's something in the back of their mind that they're hoping comes up in those cards. Usually it does. But when you do that, that means that you have to get out of the way. If you're worried about shuffling, or you're worried about knowing the card meanings, or you're worried about whether or not this is going to turn out right for this person, or you're worried about solving the people's problems, because that's not really necessarily why people come to you. Sometimes they just want to know. And it isn't necessarily your job to help solve people's problems, because in a lot of cases, people aren't really even qualified to help them solve their problems. So, think about it this way. Expand as much as you can, and by that I mean get out of your own way. Get as big as you can, get out of your own way. And then make sure there's no you worried about anything, worried about whether or not it's going to be right, worried about, get out of the way. If you're out of the way, whatever comes up will show you what you need to see. That brings us to another point. This whole idea that there's only one card meaning, or the card meanings are you have to go by the card meanings, doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because if you get out of the way, whatever card comes up will give you the information that you need to be able to tell this person whatever's going on or what they need to know. I did a video on it earlier in which I think it's called the quickest way to be a spooky accurate tarot reader, where you look at or you see what's taking your attention, which will tell you. Show you how to do that in that video. So be sure that you get out of the way, that you expand, make yourself. That's the only way I can say it. That's the way we say it in Tibetan Bond. You expand, get out of the way. Don't make it all about you. This isn't about you. This isn't about your ability. This isn't about how good a reader you are. This is about getting the information that the person needs. So if you drop yourself. Take a deep breath, drop yourself. Whatever comes up is going to be what you need. That's how when I got this deck, I didn't care. I just started reading it for people. I knew that whatever came up would tell me what it needed to tell me. So now that's the artist. Not necessarily a traditional tarot archetype, but it works. It's one of my favorite decks to read with, because when I read with it, I take a breath, I get out of the way, I connect to the person, and let the cards tell me what they need to tell me. So when you're reading for people, don't worry about what the card meanings are necessarily. Now, in some cases, especially when you're beginning, you're going to have to know what the cards mean. You're going to have to do some study to get a sense, because that'll help you. But after you do enough of this, you'll be able to connect to the person and be able to see. But if you're sitting there struggling to remember what a card meaning means, you're going to miss the whole reading, which is why you've got to get out of the way. You've got to connect to the person. You've got to want to help the person. You've got to be curious. And you got to want to make something magical happen here. And that's it. There are some people who can't do it. I've worked with people and I've watched them. They can't get out of the way. It's always about them. It's always about their belief system. It's always about what they're trying to reinforce in their own personality. It's always about them being the almighty tarot reader. It's all about them and the 50 decks that they've collected, or the 100 decks that they've collected, or the fact that they have a newsletter, or the fact that they have 50 certifications. And they won't stop talking about that to everyone, and they never get out of the way enough to actually connect with the person and actually give them a moment where everything opens up and they go, how the hell did you get that? Because we connected at that moment, and whatever's coming from your subconscious, coming right through my subconscious with the aid of what's in here. Now that's the final point I'd like to make. There is something going on with the tarot deck. In the tarot deck, there is something very special, and if you get out of the way, you will be able to access what it is. And that's all I'm going to say. You don't worry about it. You don't struggle to get to it. You don't go, what is it? You just connect with the person. Work to help the person, work to get the person the solutions that they're looking for, or the information they're looking for, or the process they're looking for, whatever it is, whatever level you're capable of giving. Because quite frankly, someone will come to you and ask you for medical advice, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm like, I don't know, feels like it's right here. Feels like it's in this organ, feels like it's that. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I just had that taken out. But I'm not going to tell them how to heal it because I am not a doctor. So I can, however, help them with stuff related to their mind because I'm a hypnotist. So I can actually help them with using hypnosis, and I have actually hypnotized people after the fact and helped them get over something that they were working to get over. And I say, I'm going to use hypnosis now if you want. I can do it right now. Do you want me to help you? Yes. Boom. So only do what you're capable of doing to help them. Get out of the way. Help them see what it is that they need to see. And don't get hung up on all of that other stuff that I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that, I got that. Make it about them. Connect to them. Do your best to help them see whatever it is they're looking to see. You're just a mirror. And if it's all about you, and all about your certifications, and all about the tarot decks you got, or all about those meanings that you know that you memorized, there will be nothing but you in the mirror, and they won't be able to see themselves. And if you're worried about whether or not you've shuffled the cards enough, you're in the way. If you're worried about whether or not you got the right meaning, you're in the way. I never second guess what I've told a person when I sit down to read them, because I realize that whatever was going on at that moment, that was the mirrored reflection. I've done enough of this to know that when I expand, get out of the way and drop it, what comes through is the mirrored reflection. If they don't recognize it at the moment, sometimes I'll give them a little bit of this, this, and this, and they'll go. Sometimes you'll flat out tell them something, and they'll go, no, that's not true. And then 5 minutes later, they'll repeat exactly what you said and say, that's what's going on in my life. And you go, did you just hear what I said right 5 minutes ago? And they'll go, oh yeah, you did say it. So, drop yourself, get out of the way. Don't worry about whether or not you shuffled it enough. Don't worry about the meanings. Don't practice, practice, practice. But when you're sitting there in front of someone and you're going to read them, let all that information about all the things you memorized, all the decks you bought, all that stuff fade away. Because this is the moment where all that stuff has to come out. And then continue to go back to practicing, learning more meanings, getting more decks, whatever it is you want to do. When you're sitting there with that person, now drop yourself. Let yourself fall away, and you'll always get what you need to get. I'm Lucky Lynx. I hope this helps. I'm wishing you success and good fortune in all you do. If you've got a question, put it in the thing below. I'll do my best to answer. Until then, good luck.